Hello, my name is Francis Fox, and I started a movement called the Mantrista Movement, which has to do with reintegrating ancient techniques together with updated versions of them so that they're quicker, doesn't take forever. The core of it is mantras, which have been around for centuries and are incredibly effective, having to do with the creation of reality or the erasing of a reality you created that you want to eliminate. I'm trained in remote viewing. I have a degree from the University of Miami, and I started a business even before I got married, and it still exists today, 50 years later. It's been very successful. I did reinvent the wheel in the beginning. I did not do what we should all do, which is to see how successful people do things. And I went ahead and interviewed, it was a bridal salon, and I knew how to sew. I had a degree in political science, but I knew how to sew and I enjoyed it. So I went ahead and I interviewed some people that worked in stores, but they were the seamstresses. And that's where I got my information. So basically, I wasted 7 years. We don't have to do that today. If we listen to Elon Musk, he gives a lot of pointers, and we don't need to waste as much time as I did. But whatever. I'm good at creating things that are very strong in foundations. So it doesn't matter how heavy the winds are or strong, they remain standing. And I hope that is the case with what I'm doing now. So let's get started. I'm going to go with the gossip first. There's somebody in Minnesota that her name is like kombucha. I think you know who I'm talking about. She was, before I understood how we could have senators and whatever that could be so vicious, I picked up her discussing, kind of having me what you're allowed to say on the internet, which is unalive. That's not possible. Well, 2 days ago, she was saying we got to get rid of this woman, me. So I don't know what to tell you other than Miss Kombucha, who, by the way, I used to look at her a lot because she has a great hairdresser. She has a very good haircut. Yeah, I know you don't think that's impossible. That's important, but actually for me it is. Uh, but she thinks I need to be eliminated because I'm going to be a problem, which means she thinks I'm going to expose something that's going to be dangerous for her and her people. So just piece of gossip. I haven't accused anybody of anything because I don't think her name is kombucha. Okay, next piece of gossip. Apparently, and it comes up in the tarot card readers, there's somebody who goes live a lot, and then she's got 2 or 3 women that every time they find out she's going to be live on air, they get their computer and then they start to do stuff so that the alive or whatever this woman is saying doesn't work. Well, obviously, more than obviously, that's me. I think I actually know who those women are. Um, and we'll take care of that. But how are we going to take care of that? With my group, and we just basically grab them by the hair and take them and put them in the waters that are south of Puerto Rico, which are sacred waters. And there's dolphins and there's whales there. And we tell the dolphins and whales, do me a favor, take care of this person, because obviously they're not balanced in the elements, or they wouldn't be wasting all this time. Anyway, next piece of gossip. The OAS, Organization of American States. Remember, I told you that my control in the 90s made me institute a lawsuit with 2 other women. It was such an important lawsuit that we had a group called Amigos de la Corte, Friends of the Court, that added themselves to my lawsuit because they thought it was an important lawsuit for sexual abuse. And I'm like, what? I don't even want to do this. Who are these people? You should look up Amigos de la Corte, Friends of the Court, because that whole lawsuit was a setup. It was true. He sexually abused all 3 of us. That's not an issue. But you know what? Paper trail. Well, that uncle, when he came, he wasn't my uncle, but I didn't know I was adopted at that point. So he was my uncle, but he wasn't my uncle because of the adoption issues. When he came from Cuba, he was a lawyer in Cuba, and he worked for Procter and Gamble. You should also look that up because I've found a lot of interesting people that have worked there. He came to the United States, to Miami, as an immigrant. He worked selling sewing machines door to door. And he went from there to the OAS. Definite, this uncle who's passed already, definite mind control, definitely weaponized CIA. And he had a lot of interesting stories. At one point, he said, I'm getting shipped to I don't know what country. I do know the country. I'm not going to say the country because I behaved poorly. But he was laughing as he said it. They sent him off on some kind of a mission, and whatever that mission was, it ended up in world news. So, OAS, you know what? If Trump shuts you down, another organization that is a front for doing whatever the hell the bad guys want to do. Next, I had a dream last night. And in the dream, oh darn, you know what? I need to do something. I need to make sure that I can say this. I can't just be saying things and then want to get myself into trouble. Okay, give me a second. I need to make sure that I can say this. I think actually I would. Yeah. When I asked if I could say this to the dolphins, they said, "We gave you the dream for a reason." Last night I dreamt that a cameraman, somebody that I don't know, had come to visit or something, and he was massively depressed, short guy, um, heavy energy, and I could tell that he lost his job. Okay, I don't think I had ever met. He wasn't somebody that I knew. It was ever, but I knew that he was a camera guy. And then a friend of mine who works at Univision showed up in the dream, and she was massively depressed. She was like mute. She couldn't even speak. And she had lost her job at Univision, both of them Univision. So I went ahead and I checked. So here's the trick. The trick is there's a plan. And the plan is to manipulate the Hispanic voting crowd. So I believe that it is already set in motion to do another big shakeup, and whoever is left in Univision that might be halfway decent is going to be eliminated. That's the plan. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. The future's elastic and plastic. If it was already set in concrete, I wouldn't even be saying it. But that reminds me, when I started to talk about this mafia, political mafia group, the sex traffic me, it's boring, doesn't it? There are several radio stations in Miami that are Cuban radio stations, and all they do is politics, politics. I think there's 6 of them. So when I started talking about the mafia, the Cuban mafia, I went, I wonder what they're going to do with them. What are they going to talk about? Well, they got sold, according to the news. Soros bought them, and they're going to be all over Latin America. Hint, hint, hint. Honestly, I want to know what vitamins these guys take, the bad guys, because they're really active. Okay, I want to go into the maps. We got troubles, guys. Now, this is not what time I can say this looks really good. Let's go with the United States map first. Here's the map. Oh, that's not it. Oh, what? What did I do? That's not the map. So you have to wait a second. I have to give you the right map. Hmm. Maybe I never got it up. Okay. So you're going to see it like this. You're going to see it like this. Okay. Here's the map of the United States. Well, let's go over here first. All this is green. This is great. Half of Texas is green. The other half is red, but that's coming from what's going on over here, which I'll get to now. Then the counterclockwise spiraling of pink is all jaggedy. So something is shaking up the country. Mexico looks great, Canada's canceled out. Okay, so we look halfway good, the United States, and halfway bad. We're still grounding the energy of love, or da da da, but it's jaggedy. But I think we have our explanation here, and this is the thing that is worrisome, which is the map that's behind me, which I think I can just do with that map. Remember the portal we found in the Pacific Ocean when there was the earthquake in Russia and there was supposed to be all these tsunamis, and then there were not really tsunamis of any significance? Um, and the Mantrista movement, we worked on that and we could tell that we had stopped the movement and the power of the tsunamis. It actually did not take that long. And the next day, or like several days later, scientists were saying that this was great. What was supposed to happen didn't. No problem. We did find that portal, and we knew that portal was a problem, and we tried to close it. No closable. No can do. So let me first say one thing. For all of you that listen to this chat, what you need to do now is you need to start planting in your mind, creating the reality by visualizing huge trees with huge roots, not palm trees, huge oak trees, huge, in all the Pacific, especially around that portal. And you need to visualize triangles made out of crystals, because that's earth energy. The trees and the crystals are earth energy, to be able to stabilize the Pacific. We got a problem there. That portal, and you can't see it. I don't know how to handle graphics, but that triangle that points into the portal, the what I wrote at the end of it, let's see if it comes up on this map, is that is coming from Sagittarius black hole. That's a problem. That's a huge problem, because the Sagittarius black hole, the last time it did that, it happened in the Gulf of Mexico with there was the break in the earth having to do with the drilling accident in the Gulf of Mexico, the BP accident. And then 2004 or 5, and then in 2012, that hole aligned with Sagittarius black hole. That's the only two times that I have seen this. And according to the Mayans, the reason the calendar changed after December 21st, 2012, no, they said that there had to be a new calendar after that date. But what happened on that date at 2 in the afternoon was that hole in the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, aligned with Sagittarius black hole. Well, we got it here again. We have a portal. I don't know how that portal happened. We didn't bother looking at that. We were too busy creating the reality of a lot of the element of Earth in the Pacific, and so the tsunamis would not be so problematic, and we achieved it. We couldn't close that. But we're talking about a destiny changing event that is already happening, because those circles are the ripple effect of something that's going on. It's affecting the United States. And as you can see, one of the ripples, or I don't know that, I'm sure that's not the right word, but as you can see here, you have total shakeup in the West Coast, and then it extends all the way to the West Coast of Texas. And the East Coast is fine. And then the spiraling of the good energy is jaggedy. So this is already happening. Now we're going to get together, Mantrista movement, but we can't close that portal. We weren't able to the other time. And I'm sure we're not going to be able to close down the Sagittarius black hole. So I'm not quite sure what to say other than there's a potential for a destiny changing event within hours, maybe days. I don't know. I don't know. But it's a problem. But again, the United States, the East Coast looks good. The East Coast of Texas looks good. But that's not what we want. We want for us all to look good. And by the way, in this map, there is an X where there may be another earthquake. And I have no idea what city that is, because when I do these maps, I don't want to put a city on them because that influences me. So I have no idea what city would be near there. Uh, or if that's the same place where we had it, it doesn't matter. So where are we at? We are at the edge of something huge. But what happened in the Gulf of America with Sagittarius black hole was not a big shakeup on the physical dimension. But that is not the case with what I have sketched here. So I would suggest that everybody stabilize that area because it's too much water and then there's going to be movement. You want grounding, 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 grounding. Huge triangles of crystals. The color green would be great. The color purple is nice and spiritual. We don't want spiritual. We need grounding. We need grounding, grounding, grounding. And I think a lot of people in the group were planting rows of oak trees and rows of triangles, of crystal triangles. You can do that in 2 seconds flat. If we get enough people to do that, we can stabilize that. And maybe there won't be a catastrophic manifestation on the physical dimension. Okay? I'm dancing as fast as I can. We've worked twice on the Chicago portal. I suspect there should be already a shift in the numbers because of all the stuff that we were able to clear. We're not finished, so I think at some point this weekend, we are going back to Chicago and we are going to continue several hundred people to clear, 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 clear. As we told you, we discovered something we weren't aware of. Chicago has a coccyx. And what we're doing is clearing it so that Chicago can be rooted. Because remember, Chicago has a portal. That's the reason for all of the really bad behavior. The assassinations over the weekend. You call them murders because it's not political. But this is not possible. And honestly, I would like to be able to prove that human beings, not just my group, we can make a difference. We trash things without even being aware of it, but we can also fix them. We can create with our minds, which we do, but we can recreate what we created poorly, badly, or we no longer want. We can do it. That's what I try to bring to the table, to try to teach you that. And it's so much easier. Everything in the other dimensions is so much easier to take care of. It's when you get to the physical manifestation, then it becomes tedious and hard. So that's why we have to take care of it before it goes to the physical. As I told you, and I'll remind you again, years ago, I don't do that anymore because it doesn't make a difference to the people. I also saw more people, and now I don't see anybody. But I would see somebody and they'd be walking towards me, whatever, and I'd look at them and I'd go, "You're going to get cancer in 2 years if you don't do something." And they'd be like, "What are you talking about? I have cancer." And I said, "No, you don't. If you go to the doctor, they're not going to find cancer. But you have it in the other dimensions. So you need to clear this." And most of the people really didn't believe me. But one person, I told her the exact date that she would get a diagnosis 2 years forward. And she actually called me about a month before that date and said, I have health issues. And the date for my appointment for the results of all the tests is exactly the date that you told me. I'm not usually that specific. And I said, "What are you going to do?" She says, "I'm going to reschedule." She's really bright. She rescheduled, therefore, I don't know what to tell you. Miss Kombucha. Miss Kombucha, you must be listening. Okay? I don't know what you're going to do or how bad you've behaved, but I don't think you're going to continue to get away with it. So maybe confessions might be a good thing. Not to me. Maybe you should be part of the repair of darkness. We're not supposed to trash darkness. We're not supposed to kill darkness. We're supposed to ultimately integrate light and dark. So, Miss Kombucha, get creative. And don't watch my chats live because I'll be able to detect you, which is how I figured out Adam Schiff. Because all of a sudden, during one of these live chats, I went, Adam Schiff? What on earth? Why would he be looking at my chats? Well, it turns out that up till now, he's the top person having to do with mind control. Oh, I picked up another piece of gossip. The bad guys like Deep State, they're hiding. Do you know where they're hiding? In military bases. Why would they hide in military bases? I don't know, Trump, why they would do that. But that's the information that I have. Now, does that mean that every single one of them? No. But I thought it was interesting because why would they hide in military bases? Maybe they control the military? I don't know. That's the piece of information. You guys need to figure it out. So, we're going to give you some metaphysical tips. If you're not on dandelion, herb, tea, whatever, even a photograph of a dandelion, you're being silly. Dandelion is great for your solar plexus chakra, for your solar plexus. Your solar plexus is called the garbage can of emotions. Your solar plexus channels your personal power. It's real important, and it channels all of your organs having to do with digestion. So if you don't have great digestion, you don't have great personal power. You may be very powerful, but you would be a lot more if your digestion issues were corrected. And dandelion is great. I always have dandelion in um, my water bottle that has a labradorite crystal in it, which is the most protective of all of them. But I wanted to say something else about that. When they do a photograph of a dandelion, it kind of looks like the mind streams. I mean, it's really very powerful. You should consider going on it, whether or not you have digestion issues. All the organs there, liver, spleen, gallbladder, and pancreas, and all the digestive organs, your stomach, your colon, all the energies are channeled in the solar plexus. So if you have diabetes, you also have very little personal power. That I can tell you that when I see people that have diabetes, I think that's a component of their persona. In terms of digestive issues, I'm not really sure. I haven't, most people don't actually talk about it. People will say, I have diabetes. People are not going to stand up and say, I have diarrhea every day. They're not going to say it. So I don't really know. Okay. In terms of your third eye, some recommendations. Maple syrup. It makes sense. It comes from the inside of a tree. Anything associated with a tree is really good for you. You should try maple syrup if you want to be able to see more. Okay? And the other thing for the third eye is belladonna, which is an herb. I inject it into myself in homeopathy, a homeopathic remedy, but you can take it as a tea. You can even have the photograph of the flower. I think it's a flower, um, because it carries the intention of belladonna, of the plant, whether it's a flower or it's green. I don't really know. Why is that important? Because the third eye is about giving you so much extra information. The intelligence community, who have run circles around this country for decades and around all of us, they are basically an information agency, and then they make decisions. And all the disinformation and all the games that have been played with us, the public, whatever, have to do with us not having the correct information and therefore not being stimulated to react in a way that makes sense. Everything's okay. And then the stuff they put in our foods has to do with making us asleep, such as the fluoride, which damages the third eye. It calcifies it. Um, so having more information is distressing, but it gives you power, and it's apparently what God wanted because God wants us to have free will. But free will is not. Free will is silliness unless you have the proper information to make the choices. So the stuff that you can do for your third eye would be really good for you, especially in a world where now the paradigm of hierarchy is going to collapse and we're going to go into a new world. That's even in the Bible. Don't question me. That's in the Bible. The Mayans said it too. The Dolphins said it too. All the indigenous people know that. So you go into an entirely new world. How long is it going to take you to get up to speed? With the third eye that's really operational, you're going to be able to get up to speed a lot quicker. Science discovered that there are eye cells in the forehead. And their conclusion is at some point, we had a third eye. Oh, we call it a chakra. Developed third eye are really important at this time on the planet, in the history of the planet, when power is not money and it's not land and it's not factories. Power is a collection of minds, MINDS. So that means that the third eye is like critically important for you, for all of us. Not for nothing that they're trying to confuse us a lot, having to do with that, with the fluoride. That whole game. I mean, how asleep have we been with all this stuff? One of the homes I moved into in this whole trying to get away from the mafia was next to Dixie Highway in in Miami. And across the street there was a restaurant that was called Truth, TRUTH. And I thought, what the hell is the matter with those people? Why on earth would they call a restaurant Truth? Well, what they were saying is that they were being honest with everything that was in their food. Everything was natural. I thought, oh my God, what have we come to? Truth, cannabis, disinformation. Somebody knew that controlling information, well, the intelligence community, that controlling information, they would control us. And it happened. So, you know what? Get your third eye operational. By the way, I have a superpower that the military scientists that I was going to say worked with me, that's so sweet, worked on me. And they declared that I had the superpower, the power of induction, which means that when you're in my presence, phone, internet, chat, physically, your aura changes and your superpowers, particularly psychism, the third eye, augments. And I've told you the story that years ago, when I used to actually see people in the physical, I don't even speak to them or text them anymore. I'm just completely isolated. But anyway, next, or back to the subject. I had people that would call me and say, we have to go to lunch, or we have to go to dinner, or I have to see you. And okay, yeah, I can't see anything anymore. I haven't seen you for a couple of months, and now I can't see anything. They were talking about the ability to see the other dimensions. So it's a lot of fun. It's can be very distressing, but having all the information, having enough information is very important for exercising free will. And I'll end with this statement. The Buddha said that the basis for human anguish was ignorance, and ignorance is a lack of information. So here we are, going into a long weekend, which I hope you have a really good time. But that is on the map, there we go, is not a good sign. And we will work on it, but you can all work on it. It's the power of the mind. And what I'm teaching you is to focus it so that that vector that Elon Musk talks about is vitalized with your intention to make a difference. To use your mind rather than reacting to this information and worrying about it, using your mind to correct it. Okay? So that's it. And I can't ask if there's any questions because the only people that actually show up at my chats are my followers that speak Spanish. And then a lot of times they demand in their English. I don't know Spanish. Spanish, please. I don't know English. Um, but they're most of them are there to support me. Anyway, I think that the social media giants should be charged with RICO charges, all of them. The trick with Facebook taking down and making sure that 92 countries don't see my stuff and limiting it um, because they say such and such a group is challenging me because I've copied something. I looked it up on the internet. That group is part of Facebook. I'm not the only one with that problem. It is part of Facebook. So what they're doing is they're feeding you, they're challenging you, saying that you use something that they have. They don't have it. They're challenging original works. Everything that I put up in terms of music is something that I commissioned and I paid for because I wanted the frequencies. But when you get to there to where you say, hey, this is my music, they try to sell you their music. They have I'm not sure what it is, but the trick is to get you there and go, no, no, well, just use this music. Now, I'm not sure that if you have to pay for it, maybe that music is compromised. I don't know. But I think that somebody needs to go after them with RICO charges. I'm not sure I understand what RICO charges is, but I think it has something to do with a conspiracy to control people. And this is definitely a conspiracy. My numbers are ridiculous. It's actually kind of good that they're ridiculous because it makes it so obvious. Okay, again, when you sit across from people, your family, your children, the people that you love, if you see their left eye doing what my left eye is doing, you need to ask, what's going on? My left eye is limping badly. Well, we already know what Miss Kombucha and everybody else that would like for me to be gone. But what about your kid? They're fine. No, they're not fine. If their left eye is limping, you look at it and it's like a map. Your body is actually a map. And that Carolyn Meese, the healer, said that our biology was our biography. Totally accurate. She's very good. Okay, that's it. I hope you have a great weekend. We need help. So would you please use visualization? Big trees, not palm trees, oak trees, big roots, and big crystals in the Pacific. And let's see if we can tone down uh, what has already started to happen. Okay? Thank you for joining me. Bye.